Episode of In the Trenches is brought to you by System 12 Guitar Method. Sign up today at ryanroxie.com.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
Hello, and welcome to another live stream episode of In the Trenches. I am your host, Ryan Roxie, and if you can tell, if you're watching on our YouTube official channel, which I hope you are, you can see that I am not in my normal location. That's because now I'm in the crypt. I'm in the crypt of former guest of the In the Trenches podcast, Paul Blazek. So you might see a Paul Blazek sighting between now and the end of this episode. But for those of you that are listening to us on audio, we thank you very much. And of course, we want you to subscribe to those platforms, but please hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. Get into the live chat, because I see the live chat faithful, the In the Trenches faithful, the Roxie Guitar Army, if you will, because we are all here today to celebrate Los Angeles. This is our, I'm in Los Angeles, okay? So there's the big news right there. Or maybe the big news is this, and we're going to talk about this. Already it's making waves. It's gone viral, you know? But as far as my guest today, what can I say? I don't even really have a script. Usually, you know, I go deep, I go down the rabbit holes, but the thing is, my guest and I today, we've gone down some deep rabbit holes ourselves. This is the two of us over the years. And we're buds, we're co-musicians, we're actually kindred spirits, if you will, and here to talk about his newest endeavor in the newest band, Lickerish Quartet, as well as his solo project, Sextus, and everything past, present, and future. Would you please welcome to In the Trenches, guitarist, songwriter, all-around musical genius, Eric Dover. Hello, Dover.
Hey, my friend, how are you?
There it
Thank
is,
you
man.
for the warm introduction.
People have been wanting you to come on the podcast for some time, ever since they saw you way back when with that little keyhole camera that you used to have. So you've upgraded or you've downgraded with your camera? What is that?
Well, I'm using my actual computer now to do this. I don't know how the hell I rigged it up last time. It was some kind of like botched job, but I just made it work somehow.
I think it was through one of those Ring sort of devices that people have on their, to get when they have burglars come into their door at home and they can check on an app. Was it the Ring? I think Shaquille O'Neal has some money in that. So I don't know.
Well, good for him.
Shout out to Shaquille O'Neal. That's what we do here on In the Trenches. Because I don't have a script, Eric, it's just like, what did I say it was going to be? It was to be beautiful, smooth chaos. That's what this episode could be.
Well, that's what rock and roll is, right? I mean, it's organized chaos, and we're going to try to bring that to you, the viewer today, whoever's out there.
Oh, there's a lot of faithful out there. In fact, they have some questions for you in a segment we like to call Let the People Speak, but we're not going to start with that, because what we like to always start with is going back to get forward. And let's just kick into that right now. Gilby Clarke has to have his motorcycle sound in every single episode. It's by contract.
Awesome. So you actually got the sample. I mean, I've been trying to get those samples from him for years.
Well, you know, when you write the contract in blood with the Gilby Clarke organization, that's what happens. I think we've done gigs with Gilby before. Have you? I mean, you've been in a band. You were with the first version of Snakepit. I was in version 2 of Snakepit. But it's not so much more about Gilby. It's more about the samples. Because I remember about you is when you're into sampling. And I think at one point you had a very, very eclectic bird sampling of bird sounds. Am I correct? You remember that?
That's correct. Actually, I get in a weird mood every like couple of years. And, you know, spring will come around and all of a sudden the songbirds are coming out. And I'm like, I wonder what kind of microphone I could use. You know, what kind of preamp would sound best here? And I probably have a couple of hours of these birds just going up. There's no telling what they're saying. You know, they're probably like, fuck me harder, daddy. I don't know. But
Yeah, you really do need to start speaking parakeet. Or would you say you're like who's the woman that hung out with the apes and the gorillas?
Oh, Jane Goodall.
You're the Jane Goodall of canaries. But that was way back when. I mean, and I still remember that one day because we were going to come. I came over for a songwriting session, and basically you said, it was almost like when Elmer Fudd goes, "Shh, be very quiet. I'm hunting wabbits." You were like, "Shh, I'm recording birds. I'm getting a special sound of that." And then, did it ever make it to like to a Sextus record, or did any of those bird samplings ever make it to any recordings?
Yes, they did actually. They made it on Sextus, I believe. I think it's on the last EP, Devil Angel, somewhere around in there. Or I could be wrong. I mean, I've had it for years. I always have a backlog of things noises and sounds. You know, you go into the kitchen and you're like, hey, I like the way this pot sounds, or, this kettle, so you'll sample it, and just musician stuff, I guess. But it's fun.
It's Eric Dover musician stuff. I love that thing because those are the types of sounds that you really can't replicate on guitar. You just have to have it. And, I mean, the Beatles used to do stuff like that. I think they used to just take weird instruments and turn them around, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's always kind of been the goal. I mean, I love the loud rock and roll that we've been able to play through the years together as well. And to me, nothing sounds better than a cranked up loud guitar. But, for some things, if I dabble around in electronic music, which I've done before, anything goes. You can just turn on the fan and talk in it. And
yeah. So, I was going to say a really loud electric guitar and then maybe some Magic Bullet sampling in the back or something like that. Some sort of, protein drink mixer.
You got to have some Ted Zigzag over there with his Dr. Sample, I want my gig back.
He's an inspiration for all that kind of stuff. I think between the two of you guys, there was more weird sounds coming from samples over those years. Because I tell people that even to this day, when you and I played together in the Alice Cooper band, we were always technologically kind of crippled, if you will, to use a word that I shouldn't use in LA to get canceled. But we were technologically, I know the correct word is challenged, but we literally, it was worse than being challenged. Yes. Okay, what happened? Okay, folks, full disclosure, and you have to be watching the podcast in order if you want to get all these little references. We were saying, I asked before the podcast started if you could even use the word cripple. I'm not calling someone cripple. I'm not going out to like where I'm staying here out of Paul Blazek's crypt because for one, you can't escape this place. But if I go out on the street, you just can't start yelling cripple, cripple. But if you say something's crippled, you're not going to get canceled. But Dover kind of was you had a little bit of a different view of. You said maybe that was Fonzie jumping the
shark. Yeah.
And that's the new term for getting canceled, folks. Fonzie jumping the shark. And then, of course, Vic, our producer, went out and found a picture of the great Arthur Fonzarelli. Why can I not think of his acting name? Eric, help me out.
Oh, bloody hell. I just call him Fonzie. It's Henry Winkler. Right.
Oh, damn it. See, sometimes when I get put on the spot,
Oh, I totally get a brain fart on that stuff. And somebody had posted the other day on Facebook, here's a list of 100 TV shows. How many of them have you seen? Well, out of 100 TV shows, none of them, not one. Over the last 25 years, I haven't seen one network TV show. Couldn't even tell you what the plot is. But I know about Fonzie. So,
well, I was going to say, from any time from the mid 70s probably to the early 80s, you could probably name every character on every TV show, and their pilots. Jack Tripper. Can you name the three sort of incarnations of Three's Company? I mean, or at least the two landlords.
Well, Don Knotts, right?
As Mr. Furley.
Mr. Furley. And gosh, the first one I can't remember offhand. You've got me in a spot.
They had a spin-off show called The Ropers. Remember?
That's right. Yeah. Back when television was fun.
Yeah. And then I love the porno spinoff that they did. And they simply, because usually they change the name of that, but they just kept it. They were just called the Ropers. There's Peter North reference to you there, man. I've been like late 70s, early 80s porning out lately as far as my references.
No, that's totally allowable. It all collided at a certain point, I think, in the 90s anyway, right? I mean,
it kind of, it imploded it. Well, it did collide, implode, whether it was, perhaps the whole Tracy Lord scandal. I think that kind of put the pin in the balloon. But then at one point, here's the thing. I don't know if you saw this, but you might like this this picture. And it says, most of these young people will never know the beautiful voice of Luciano Pavarotti.
I thought it was Luigi from Mario Brothers.
Spaghetti! It's actually Ron Jeremy, as you know. So,
I got a weird, wild hair up my butt one night. I wanted to ask him this question so bad. Was
Luciano Pavarotti or Ron Jeremy?
Both. And I was like, so listen, Ron, have you ever done a furry porno? And he's going, I don't know, like, nod off for a second, and then wakes up and he's like, oh yeah, I've done one of those. And then he goes, a gig's a gig. I'm like, so somewhere out there's a furry porn, and it's Ron's,
Well, yeah, and
hedgehoggy self.
The thing is, Ron is a little bit like furry himself. And I guess you and I have done, I guess, if everything's relative, playing Kingman, Arizona is basically the equivalent of doing a furry porn. Wouldn't that? I mean, it's kind of equal.
I would say it is, and I mean, I remember we played Kingman once. So I think it was the first time, and we walk. It was like a movie or something. We walk in completely glammed out into a cowboy bar, and it was.
It was.
And they were like,
Hold on. Do you hear that? Does everybody hear that? Hold on. All right. Am I there? Can you hear me? Hold on. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. Hold on 1 second. I can't. Folks, if you're watching this, of course it was going to happen. Oh boy. I'm looking at the private chat. It's Dover. Okay. It's not me, but I can't hear myself. 1 second. Oh, it's Dover. So why doesn't Dover leave the studio and come back in? Can you do that, Eric? Okay, because right now I can't hear you. Folks, of course, it's smooth chaos is what we thought. We promised and we delivered. That's what happens, folks. You know what? This could rival the Michael DeBar's episode. Hold on. All right, so we have a problem. Maybe Eric Dover might have to restart his computer. I think you're gonna have to restart. If you can hear me, maybe Vic come up on the screen here, because our producer, we have technical difficulties here. Of course, it's all right. Hold on. I know that you can hear me. But let's have Eric. Sign on. Okay. Now what happened is So for those of you that are just listening to our audio broadcast and going, what the hell has just happened with that sound? Of aliens actually landed and we are recreating the War of the World scenario? No. What has happened is that we're just doing a regular Now Friday podcast in Los Angeles, new location. But our guest is Eric Dover, guitarist, singer-songwriter, who, and oddly enough, we were just talking about being technically challenged about, with all this stuff. And, full disclosure, we had a full sound check before. I think that
we spent about half an hour last night trying to get it worked out,
but it was working
to be good.
Yeah,
it was great.
Okay, so that sound right there. Hopefully, we can come back. We're going to give a couple minutes, obviously, folks. And these are the fun times that you remember on In the Trenches, because now this, I think we just
we've gone from the ding episode to the buzz episode.
The ding episode to can't hear you, bro. I think we have a new champion, and this is like I don't even know what that sound is. It's like
feedback. He's got so many mics and things in his house set up because he's been doing a lot of recording.
Okay, well, let's see if he comes back. If he comes back, and that no good. Unplug your headphones and plug them back in or something like that. And maybe Vic and Eric can go on to the chat, and you can go under the cam mic and work with your audio, maybe get another audio type of thing, because we have so many stories, so many good things happening. I think you're back. Are you back? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
can you hear me?
So right now we can hear you. Your mic's a little loud, but that's okay. Oh, wow. So like we were saying.
Back at it.
Oh, man.
I apologize. This computer's a bit old, but
the camera looks good. If we could combine that with your Ring camera and the innards of this computer, I think we'd be fine. But that's, you know what? It's par for the course. It's what we do here In the Trenches. It's not like we have sponsors we do have sponsors. Wow. Okay. Well, we just jumped the shark, folks. Because that's what we were talking about. The new word for being canceled is jumping the shark. And but I believe the story that we were talking about was the first time that we went back into Kingman with our promoter. Do you remember our promoter's name? Because we got half the equation right already. Who was it?
Kingman Bob.
And Kingman Bob is now a heavy religious preacher out in the Arizona area.
Wow. Well, we must have done something to facilitate that. But yeah.
What is that gig? What do you remember about those really eclectic? Because that was a Glam Nation extravaganza, wasn't it?
It definitely was. And I don't remember. I do remember that we were playing with Betty Blowtorch on that gig.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's right.
God rest her soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. She passed away not that many years afterwards.
Yeah, she was very sweet, and we all miss her. But the show itself was fantastic, and I was really blown away by them because they brought pyrotechnics with them. This was before everybody said, "Hey, maybe we won't use pyrotechnics in a small club." But they had the torches and the whole 9 yards, and I was deeply impressed there.
Yeah. We couldn't ever really afford the pyrotechnics because we wouldn't know how to operate them. But what were some of the things that Glam Nation would actually bring? It was more, I think, the more cheesier, the better, right?
Generally speaking, I mean, I think when it comes to Glam Nation, we really outdid ourselves when we did the the Peruvian sabbatical episode.
And we actually adopted a Bolivian. Yeah. It was a Bolivian love child in the form of Bobo, and he came out. I think he came out in a diaper.
He might have. He also had a Swami hat as well, I think, at one point.
But that's when, we did something else. I think that's when we went and found ourselves again. Or wait, something. You're right. Maybe it was a combination. He was a Bolivian love child, and he was our Swami, because we had gone to find ourselves. Glam Nation, folks, was a band that we had put together, sort of our love for early 70s, all things early 70s, sort of glam rock. Who would you say was like the primary influences of that band, Eric?
Oh, we were, Martha Hoople and Sweet and T-Rex and Bowie and, all that good stuff. And we played quite a bit for a while on this in Hollywood around the Strip. And
the gig on Melrose, that was sort of our haunt, I believe. Remember
yes,
that?
It was. And we had the fabulous Ashley.
Oh, just talking about her the other day to her former boyfriend. I ran into him. We walking down Sunset, and he just goes, "Yeah, I used to go out with the fabulous Ashley." And I go, "Didn't she move to Hawaii?" And he said, "Yeah." She said one day, she goes, "You know what? Things aren't working out the way I want. I'm just going to move to Hawaii." And she did, and now apparently she's moved back to the Midwest, where she was born, grew up. Kind of, that's what kind of people do sometimes. I mean, they do go back to their nest at some point. I was thinking about that today in LA. I was walking down getting my Starbucks instead of what I would normally have on this show, which would be, some sort of protein vodka something drink. I applaud you, Eric Dover. Thank you so much. And any West Coast guests that we've had on In the Trenches for doing it on this time zone, because honestly, it's a little early. I admit it now. I don't realize that it was so early until I'm actually living it. So thank you, and I appreciate it. And I will switch my normal drink out with coffee. And I think you have something as well, right? When are you drinking?
Well, I'm just having a Red Bull right now. I've been up since 5:30, so
your time schedule is all over the place. But but going back, to Los Angeles, I was thinking about as I was walking down there, it's like going, what's your view about this whole city? Because you've been here now for a while. We all come. It seems that most people come here to make it, and at one point or another, it's not just making it, but there's also a whole nother community of people that need to support those people making it. That's why there's so many jobs in the movie business, where whatever, if you're a gaffer and a key grip and all those things that support the main product, and you're part of this whole project. Like, I guess my feeling is like, should you ever go back to where you came from, or should you just stay here and have generations that continue to live that dream and go for that dream? Or is there an expiration date on that?
I don't think there's an expiration date for anybody's dreams if they want to chase them.
That's my soundbite. That's a perfect soundbite right there. Vic, please mark that. Go ahead.
No, just that the dream's always kind of changing a little bit too after being out here for so long. I mean, we all have dreams of getting our music out there to people and communicating with them and having fans that appreciate what we do. But for me, an option of going home or going somewhere else, I also think, you live in a big city long enough and you're going to get that, I could just move out in Montana somewhere and get a little shack and, raise alpacas and whatnot.
I think that's what the Unabomber did, Eric. Hold on.
Well, everybody gets that fantasy of wanting to, get away from the entire world of Fonzie's jumping sharks,
right,
and go somewhere. But really, once you're in it, why stop? No,
and that's the thing. You have everything you just said. You have been able to accomplish. And everything's on different levels. I understand that. Like whether, it's being on a huge late night talk show or hosting a rough and tumble ragtag podcast like we have here in the Trenches, everything's relative. And we're building up fans. you build up fans all throughout the years. There are true, hardcore Eric Dover fans out there that wait for every single release that comes out. So in a way, all these dreams and hopes you have accomplished, but you keep. I love the idea that you said there's no expiration date on dreams, because you keep going to another type of goal and achieving that with your different sort of musical projects. And one of the most I guess influential and closest to your heart projects has always been your solo band called Sextus. And I was actually very lucky to be a part of one of those lineup versions, where I thought that version was a killer lineup. And it was, do you remember who was in it?
Gosh, it's been a few years back, and we were doing a showcase for it was Madonna's. Yeah, there's Ron Zubula, Eric Scotus, Chris DeClerc, Mitchell Sigmund, and Joe Carnes, who's now with Fritz and the Tantrums.
That was a different lineup, but the lineup I'm talking about, I believe, had Teddy Zigzag on keyboards.
Oh, that's right. Ted was in it for a minute.
Chuck Garrick actually played some bass for that showcase, didn't he? I want to say he did.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's hard to remember because it was a few years ago, and then after that, I think I got the lineup that you saw in the picture, right. And then we played what was it, Spaceland or whatever the hell it wound up becoming, and I think that was the last show I ever did for Sextus. After that, they shut it down. So,
well, let me ask you this: why did you name it Sextus, and have you ever put out an Eric Dover's solo, or is Sextus just an alter ego of Eric Dover?
I think it's just a part of a persona that I adopted years ago. I had it in my head that I kind of wanted to have a persona. I almost feel like Eric Dover is too boring. Like just me at room temperature sitting around. I mean, you're not likely to go, hey, what a fascinating guy. He knows a lot about quantum mechanics. But Sextus was a way for me to kind of take that, your id or whatever, and run with it for fun.
Did you have Sextus in your head, in the back of your head, during all the incarnations of the bands that you were going through, whether it was, because if we go way back, we're talking, whoa, that is Vic, our producer, just put something way back. That's nicely done, man. Some nice bell bottoms. That's Eric Dover in Birmingham, Alabama. So if we go way back to Birmingham, Alabama, were you thinking back then of this alter ego, or when did the idea come? Because I would say one of the first bands that I recognized you from and was able to see you from, I actually saw one of the first gigs I think you might have played with the band, Jellyfish. It was at Magic Mountain.
Right.
And what year was that? And, how long had you been playing in the LA scene before Jellyfish came about?
I had not been playing in the LA scene at all. I'm a transplant, of course. So I came out here. That was in 93. And I think 93, late 92.
Was that your first gig with Jellyfish?
Not Magic Mountain, no. But okay. It was one of the first of the shows that we'd done. And then so many of my friends were at that show. You and just tons of my LA friends were at that show, which was pretty amazing. Yeah. You found out about it years later. Hey, I was at that show. I'm like, wow, I remember it. So we played a matinee show as well.
I wanted to say that was one of the first shows of the tour. Yeah, you went on before Puppet Show, or was it after Puppet Show? And I've told them once. I've told them 1,000 times. I'm
just as God made me, sir. Cripple! Yeah.
We're going back to that word. Jumping the ship. Jumping the shark. Oh my God. So anyhow, and just to clarify what jumping the shark means, it's when basically something's run its course and you get canceled. And we were saying that, I guess that was the episode that did it. And I was wondering, and I asked Eric, if the equivalent of that for Guns N' Roses was the Estranged video. And then we had the conspiracy that all Fish will basically end your sort of whatever career that you have at that point. And then, of course, you can reinvent yourself later on, because Henry Winkler certainly has with, God, Henry Winkler's amazing with so many stuff that he's done. His post Fonz, if you think about it.
Oh yeah, his post Fonz television career was pretty good. I mean, he was a good actor.
Arrested Development, one of my favorites.
Yeah,
remember?
Oh,
and then he's on a newer one just recently with the guy. It's called Ben or something. He plays an assassin. He plays the acting coach. Have you seen that?
No.
Enough about Henry Winkler. Let's get back to Jellyfish. And I saw that show at Magic Mountain, but I also saw you guys, I think, on your last show of that tour at the Palladium. Oh, no, not Palladium. The Palace in Los Angeles on Hollywood and Vine. I mean, it's weird that I wasn't cyber stalking you folks, because there was no cyber at that point. I was just basically showing up at these gigs and seeing Eric Dover play before I ever met him. Now, at that point, you were also being courted by Slash. Am I right?
No, that came about after Jellyfish disbanded. So the story is the last show that Jellyfish played was at the State Palace Theater in New Orleans.
Okay.
After that, we broke up, and I went back to Alabama and started working in a music store. And then one day I get a call. The day that Kurt Cobain killed himself, Roger Manning called me up and goes, "Hey, why don't you come out to Los Angeles and let's write some songs?" And so I came out after that. And during that time, Mark Dansizen, a drummer friend that I know you know him as well, great guy.
Yeah, great songwriter himself, great voice. He's sang backgrounds as you have on most of my solo stuff. I rely on you guys completely for your, incredible genius in your voices. Yeah. So Mark Dansizen was involved as well.
Well, we were playing with him at Mate's rehearsal, and he mentioned that Slash was looking for a singer. So yes, during the time that Imperial Drag was forming, I basically got into Slash as well at the same time. So I had a deal with Sony already while I was on the road with Slash, essentially. Yeah.
So that's maybe where I saw you at the Palace, and maybe it wasn't a Jellyfish show. It might have been a Imperial Drag show. I know it was one of the other, but I mean, it is a little bit a sort of amalgamation of the two, because Roger Manning, the key member of Jellyfish, one of the founding members of Jellyfish, ends up being founding member of Imperial Drag, and then brings you along for that ride. You guys end up forming Imperial Drag, and Eric Scotus, amazing drummer as well.
Wonderful.
Have you kept in touch with any of the Imperial Drag guys well, obviously you're still in touch, very much so, with Roger, because here's how that little piece of thread goes through the needle is that you're still in a band with Roger Manning after all these years.
Yeah, crazy how that works out, right? That kind of started in 2017, where Tim and Roger they had started talking again after several years and seeing if they wanted to write some music, and they were kind enough to call me, and I was all for it, because we've always had a lot of fun making music, writing music, whatever we've been involved with together. Just like when we have played together, we've had so much fun, and a lot of mirth and joy has been made through the years. So it was definitely an easy sell for me to get back in the trenches.
Hey.
Yeah.
Buzzword.
Yeah.
So basically, the if you want to do it in chronological order, the relationship with you and Roger has been Jellyfish to Imperial Drag to what is now the Lickerish Quartet. Or is there anything else in between? Because, and obviously Roger's done well for himself, you know, just as a solo artist, but he also plays, does he still play keyboards with Beck?
Yes, he does. He's in Beck's band. He's played keys on the last 5 Morrissey records. He does all sorts of sessions. And then we've been doing a lot of sessions too since we started this whole endeavor up of releasing some music after so many years. So we're extremely grateful that people have received it as well as they have, because Jellyfish fans are pretty hard to please sometimes. So the response overall has been very good. So,
well, what was that transition like? How did that first call come from Jellyfish? I've always wanted to ask you this, but never really been in the situation, whether we're on a bus or whether we're backstage. But I mean, did you ever meet Jason Faulkner? Because he's the person that you, I believe, took his place at that point. Or, you know, I don't know what happened with that whole situation with Jellyfish. Did you guys ever have any contact together?
Well, funny enough, now that you mention it, I know that we've met once for sure, but I don't remember it because I was probably pretty torched. So, and I couldn't tell you when or why or when that happened, but I think we've met once, you know, according to lore. So, and I love Jason. I think he's amazingly talented.
Very talented from the band The Grays as well as his solo stuff. But do you know what the situation was when you got into the band? Had Jason and Jellyfish departed on quite quick notice, or did you have, like, was it one of the situations where you got a phone call and said, hey, you have to learn 20 songs by next week?
No, it didn't happen like that. What had happened was Tim Smith was playing with a band called The Producers, which I know that you're familiar with them.
Yes.
You know, great pop band from Atlanta. And I had a band called Love Bang at the time, and we were showcasing some music, you know, shopping around the labels, and I got wind of an open audition of Jellyfish. So I went home and got on my 8-track recorder and recorded a couple of songs. One of them was No Matter What by Badfinger, which I didn't even know that they had covered, which was pretty interesting. But we were all into
which we
that
play
sort
to
of,
this day together when we do a show, like, for instance, on the last tour that we did with Lost Angels. And there's another band that we're in, and I didn't even have that in my notes because it's just Eric and I have played in so many bands together, whether it's Alice Cooper or Glam Nation, and then there's like his solo stuff as well as my solo stuff, and then there's the Lost Angels as well. And Vic, our producer, just put up a photo of one of the last tours that we went on before the world shut down, and that tour van looks much more opulent, folks, than the actual tour.
That's an understatement.
but go ahead, continue with the story. I'm sorry, I just got excited about No Matter What, and because that song is such a great Badfinger song, and you recorded a version for it for Jellyfish, huh?
Well, yeah, I did that. Gosh, I think I wrote a few songs, but reasonably quickly. And this was crazy because, you know, this is back before you had really a lot of FedEx and, you know, just send something through the ship something. You would send the cassette back in the old days. You'd put a stamp on it and send it to Los Angeles. They were mixing at Ocean Way. So Roger called me within a couple of days, actually, and said, "Oh, you're pretty good. Do you want to come out and audition?" And I was completely petrified and terrified, but I gladly did it. Actually, I had strep throat when I auditioned. I don't even know how I made it through the audition, really.
Wow. Okay, but it obviously worked out, and then so much so that you know, you go on with Jellyfish, and then putting Imperial Drag together, which is again with Roger. But then Slash sort of hears wind of you, and you guys hear wind of him, and he wants you as just the lead vocalist for Slash Snakepit. Did you? Because Gilby was in that lineup as well, and here you are coming from a guitar background. Was that your first sort of just fronting a band?
Well, I've always been singing and playing.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Was it your first gig where you just fronted it without the guitar?
Yeah, certainly was. And I had some ropes to learn. I mean, I'd played a lot of rock and roll in the South and playing around the, Chitlin circuit, what have you, sororities and parties. But so I had a lot of hard rock experience singing and playing, but never fronting. So that it was an education. All of a sudden you're in front of thousands of people and they're like, "Hey, this isn't Axl. This guy looks like Shaka from Land of the Lost."
Da, 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 da. But the thing is, I can't decide which Eric Dover I fell in love with more. The Eric Dover behind with the guitar strapped on, because I think you and I play great together. I think, definitely one of my favorite guitar players ever to play off of. And I say that in every interview. I think we just had a certain synergy. Or it's Eric Dover without the guitar, who just, you let him run wild and you let him do you let Eric Dover do what Eric Dover's going to do. And at that point, it could be catastrophic. Like if you climb up, sort of a scaffolding that clearly cannot support your weight.
Yeah, that experiment didn't work out that well, did it?
No. Or if you just, so that's the thing, folks. To see Eric Dover in his natural habitat, I think you need to see the two different versions. And I guess Snakepit was your initiation into that whole, just being a singer fronting the band.
Yeah, and it was huge shoes, obviously, to have to try to fill. But
Wow.
It's no different than when I was 6 years old, and or like David Lee Roth used to say, my parents I'd get home from school and have monkey hour, and that's it was entertainment time, as you can see.
It's a great photo, Vic.
That's my sister Tina. I think that's from about 1969, 70 maybe. I still miss that play school biplane thing. Sit there and watch Captain Kangaroo and have your cereal in the morning.
I can't believe that if you go back to that picture, Vic, I can't believe that sort of, I know which one exactly you're talking about. I think we all had it. It was kind of like a xylophone. It's like the beginning version of a xylophone. I can't believe that has not made it onto a Lickerish Quartet album yet. Or maybe it has.
Well, yeah, wait a little bit. I think we could arrange for that.
Start sampling that.
But my dad was the kind of guy, this is pretty funny. I mean, he had a job on the road. He worked for Pillsbury, so he would usually every Christmas he would get a bunch of money in his pocket, start drinking, and go to like Sears or J.C. Penney's and try to barter with the salespeople and buy toys and stuff.
It's like late night Amazon shopping for me now.
Yeah, I mean, and you would see his mindset, like, what was he thinking when he got this for me, and why did he hide it underneath the couch cushions for me to find after Christmas? I mean,
impulse buy.
He made it fun though. Both my parents did. So
I love it. You're bringing me back. Actually, I brought myself back here to Los Angeles last night. We were drinking. And let me test you real quick, because it had been quite many years since I had this cocktail. And I'm sitting here with Paul Blazek. I can't believe we haven't had a Paul Blazek sighting. It's almost like Sasquatch. He's got a gig, so he said he might be coming in and out of this room. Maybe we'll get a special appearance by Paul Blazek. But last night, as our cocktail of choice, I said, what about if we go to old school and we drink a little bit of vodka and orange juice? Because I haven't had that drink in about maybe 20, 30 years plus. And then we both tried to remember the name of that drink. Eric Dover, do you know the name of what they call a vodka and orange juice?
Isn't that a screwdriver?
Da-da-da! We couldn't think of that name. It was a screwdriver. And then we started ringing out all the old school names of cocktails that you'd have as a teenager, when I think you'd borrow liquor from your parents and never give it back to them. But There was a Greyhound.
What's a Greyhound?
A Greyhound is the same thing, vodka, but it has grapefruit juice.
Ah.
You see, and then all this is sort of going and morphing into what became the drink of the 90s and probably 2000s for both of us at one point, was the vodka cranberry. Which was pretty much the staple at least in my version of Snakepit. Well, and was it the version in Snakepit version 1?
Absolutely, yeah. That and I was drinking Jack Daniels and Jellyfish though.
Oh, very
and then I made the switch. And it was like Slash was like, "Hey, try this."
That seems different. I would assume Jellyfish more of a vodka type of colorful sort of psychedelic type of thing, and then Jack Daniels. But I like the switch that you made, because wouldn't Slash always say, just put a little bit of cranberry in there for color or something like that?
Yeah, you did. And then you remember Greg Smith, saying, "We're gonna have a shot of the brown liquor," before we go on.
Greg Smith, bass player of Alice Cooper. What version did we play together in that? Was that
Brutal Planet?
That's right. That was the Dragon Town Brutal Planet, somewhere around that era.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
It was fun, funny times.
Yes, we've been talking alcohol. We've been talking Fonzie. We've been talking Eyes of Alice Cooper. There's a nice picture of the lineup of Eyes of Alice Cooper lineup with Eric Singer on the left. There it is, Eric Dover, our guest today, with a beautiful white SG. That's that young, vivacious little singer right there called Alice Cooper in the middle. It's so weird. He looks just like a kid. He's a child right there. And that's me with my best, I don't know, kind of boy band impersonation, and Chuck Garrick on the right, looking very John Cougar Mellencamp meets
Greg Kihn. I don't know,
and a little bit of a Greg Kihn vibe. I love it.
Well, I don't know my doppelgangers that well, but yeah, right, David. That white SG belongs to Eric Singer, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, right. So it was a prop guitar. Oh, fucking looks beautiful though.
It's crazy how most drummers that I know have better guitars than I do.
Yeah, I know, and can usually play better than us as well.
Yeah.
At some point. Well, let's do something, Eric. Let's take a quick break. Let's do a quick commercial for one of our sponsors, because I am on the road with Beyerdynamic and I'm using their headphones right now. We'll do a quick commercial break, and then we will come back and let the people speak, of course, and then talk a little bit about what you're up to exactly right now, the new releases of Sextus and the new releases of the Lickerish Quartet. So we're here with Eric Dover, folks, on In the Trenches. Enjoy this. Hello, Ryan Roxie here, host of the In the Trenches podcast, and I also play guitar for Alice Cooper. I just wanted to take a second to talk about what mic you're hearing me speak through and what headphones I choose to listen to all my audio with. My go-to podcast and live performance mic is this TG V70 dynamic vocal mic. And when I'm recording acoustic stuff, I'll always mic it up with the Beyerdynamic M160 double ribbon mic. I listen to everything with the DT 1770 Pro headphones unless I'm out and about. That's when the Eventho wireless headphones really make listening to music, podcasts, or any other audio app that's on my phone ultra high fidelity and latency free. Check out their official site or the links below in the description of this video to find out more about what makes Beyerdynamic the musician's choice in pro audio mics and headphones. Now, let's get back into the trenches for some more rock and roll. Enjoy the show, enjoy the ride. See, we do it quickly. It's quick and painless, I think. Nobody wants to hear about how they can shave their back with Manscaped, although they could be a good sponsor. And we just don't want to lag it on for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not disparaging Manscaped, and I'm not disparaging removing hair at places you don't want it at all. But it's
you could do the Dr. Sasquatch soap thing.
You're a very hairless guy. You don't ever have to worry about that. I've been up and close and personal for years and years. You have a very hairless body, and at one point I did too. Holy smokes!
I think you're pretty hairless.
Yeah, well, I mean, Never waxed. If you stay on that picture, Vic, because you knew I'd say that. But this is actually the show of Glam Nation, where I believe I called Alice Cooper I called Ace Frehley the godfather of glam, I called either Ace or Alice, which is quite ironic because we're going on tour in just a couple of weeks with Ace Frehley and Alice Cooper. The thing is, I called one of them the godfather of glam, and then we had to apologize. And it was remember, it was like the Beatles scenario where John Lennon said he was bigger than the Beatles. And Teddy kept hitting this sample saying, I never said it. What I said it was wrong.
I remember that. I never say we were better than bigger than God. Yeah. Oh, man.
I never said Glam Nation was better. It was something like that. And then at one point, when we broke into, which you sang a beautiful rendition of Mott the Hooples, All the Young Dudes, didn't we have a sort of really cheesy 8x10 of Alice come down? And he was the real godfather of glam?
That's right, we did. Yeah, you'd rigged that up, I remember now. That was a pretty interesting show because Ace blew my amp up that night. You remember?
Oh, shit. No.
He totally blew. I had a 100-watt 73 Marshall, very nice amp. And I remember he goes into the backstage and he goes, what gauge strings you got on this? And I'm like, I don't know, 10s. And then he just proceeds to go on the stage, 100 watts and dimes, all the controls. And it lasted about 2 songs and then went, see ya.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it was loud. I do remember that. You know, we rigged a lot of stuff up at the gig on Melrose on those Sunday nights. It was quite fun. I will always remember. The thing is, I don't think you can find any footage of those shows. I think you just had to be there. And that's what's weird about the difference of that time. It wasn't that long ago, but you imagine if people had cell phone cameras back then, it would be legendary, those shows.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit before a few bands that kind of do that thing now that I won't name, but I think we were kind of going for that tongue-in-cheek, fun, celebrity skin sort of vibe, because we liked that kind of. We
reenacted the Rod Stewart stomach pumping incident at Club Makeup. While I'm talking, see, I would never. My memory. At some point, like those hyperlinks to those memories, would never have snapped off unless I was talking to you, Eric Dover. But it was Club Makeup, right? Is that where we did it?
That was a fantastic show too. Cherie Currie was on it. She came and sang a few songs with us, I remember.
But wasn't there a little cat fight between Cherie Currie and the Fabulous Ashley, right? That night.
I believe there was. There was some kind of kerfluffle, I think, that went down.
I distinctly remember Fabulous Ashley saying, "What's that lady doing here? That's my song." and we had to explain to her, like, well, wait a second. Cherie Currie is the reason why that song is what it is. So she's got to come up and sing it. And there was a little bit of ruffling of the feathers, and it was a little bit of that, old dog, new dog, sort of like, yeah, a little like old cat, new cat. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But then we actually went on stage and we reenacted the Rod Stewart stomach pumping incident, which I would imagine not a lot of people in our live chat know what that urban legend is.
No.
But what other urban legends do you remember growing up?
I think that was probably the biggest one, if there ever was one. Right. There's the other urban legend. What is it? Ohio Players Love Roller Coaster.
Yes, there was a murder. There was a murder during. There's a murder going on. I can't believe you had that one, because I don't know. Did you hear that one in Alabama? Because I heard it in California, and people that are listening to this podcast going, "What the hell who are Ohio Players?" Great funk rock band of my youth, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of the best album covers, some of the most. What's wrong with being sexy?
If only more people would be sexy, then we wouldn't have this problem of people jumping sharks.
A little bit, it's a little with Sextus type of, not Sextus, but sexist. There's a difference, folks. What's wrong with being sexy? The Ohio players. But please tell the people the story of the song Roller Coaster, made famous by Red Hot Chili Peppers. I guess we have to preface it with that in later years. But the original roller coaster, dun, dun, dun. What happened and what's your version of that urban legend? I love it.
Well, what I'd heard in that urban legend, it wasn't a murder so much as it was someone at an amusement park on a roller coaster. That's what I'd heard. That they were on a roller coaster and they fell off of it and died and screamed on the way down. But then I went and heard later, of the other one. Oh, somebody was just murdered in the studio or something.
That's the one I heard. I heard the one that was, there was a stabbing in the studio and it chilled me to the bone as a little kid, because it was like those things like when you'd say, if you listen to the Led Zeppelin record backwards, it'll give you subliminal messages,
We used to love to do that though, because, did you hear it? I don't know. Did you hear it? Let's try it again.
What was Led Zeppelin trying to tell us?
Oh man, they've told us so much already. But
they were early on jumping the shark, but it was something else with the shark. I think Led Zeppelin did. They were plunging the shark. That's not urban legend. I think that's fact.
That actually happened. That's involving red snappers, if I'm not mistaken.
Another fish story here on In the Trenches.
Oh no! Now, watch out! No more fish stories. Everything keeps breaking up. Yeah.
Well, let's pull our heads out of the fish right now, or pull something out of the fish. Pull the fish out of something, and let's talk about currently what has got Eric Dover going, because this is the main event as well, folks. We're this new band that you have put together with Roger Manning. Please tell us about everybody else that you put the band together with, how its incarnation happened, and what you guys are releasing now.
Okay, well, the name of the project or band, if you will, is the Lickerish Quartet, and that's actually taken from an Italian softcore movie that goes by the same name. It's spelled licorice like lick instead of licorice the candy, which we all in the band don't like. And
never liked licorice. I mean, and it was always the only choice. It was red licorice or black licorice, and I liked neither, except when I discovered Sambuca or Ouzo or any of those types of, sort of drinks that'll get you.
Yeah, I'll drink the Sambuca and the Ouzo, but the licorice kind of does a weird thing for me. Anyway, if you get a chance, see the Lickerish Quartet, the movie, because it's quite fun for the time it was made. Beautifully shot. Is it
Fellini-esque?
It's not violent in the Fellini sense, but it's beautifully shot. It's kind of a psychological sort of romp, if you will, and there's nudity. So I mean, I've always been a fan of nudity in films for whatever reason. Well, at least in the 60s, the way that it was done seemed, all the Russ Meyer movies, and, I can still watch those and go, Kitten Natividad, woo!
When you say Russ Meyer movies, immediately what comes to mind is Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, which another band got their name from. The band Kill Kill. No, I'm talking, of course, about the band Faster Pussycat. And so names of bands come from movies a lot, I believe.
Oh, we had a massive list. At least 500 names or more that we'd all come up with. And then Roger's like, hey, I think this would be the way, what to call it. And we're like, hey, that's pretty cool. So it stuck. And
let me just take you back, a little bit back in the past, but it still has something to do with Lickerish Quartet. How did the name Imperial Drag come around?
Again, from a list, a big, long list. You've named bands before, so you know how hard it can be.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I'm going to call this band, the Uterine Fan or something, and you find out it's already taken, and they've already got their own website. So
the Ron Jeremy Furries or something like that.
Yeah, the hedgehogs.
The hedgehogs. But the thing is, what does Imperial Drag mean to you or to because it's a very cool name, cool 2 words, but is it some sort of statement, or did these just 2 words that sound cool together? What is an Imperial Drag?
Well, it was, we kind of wanted to go for something that had a sort of regalness about it, I guess, if anything. Of course, hindsight's 2020 because, Imperial Teen came out at the exact same time. And then we were Imperial Drag, so this was kind of before the internet. So now you would, I remember not too long ago, you could type in Imperial Drag, but it would pull up all these results of like drag balls and all this other stuff.
Right.
I think there's actually an Imperial Drag ball or something. But we didn't know at the time. We were just like...
Electric Angels was always in competition, or not competition because they blew us out of the water, but it was Electric Boys, Electric Love Hogs, the Cult record at that point, which was called, I think, just Electric. So yeah, we had the same sort of battles that we flew. But currently, with now getting back up to date with Lickerish Quartet, you have the name of the band, you have the members of the band. What's the recording process like? Because I remember when we went on to the last Los Angeles tour, you were playing me some of these tracks, you were playing me some of these sort of demos that you had recorded, which, by the way, folks, an Eric Dover influenced demo is probably good for anybody's final record, like mastered mix, but they sounded great. What was the whole process of getting this record out there and EP, and what is the sort of pace that you're going with Lickerish Quartet?
Well, those tracks I played you, which I remember that day quite well. That was a beautiful drive up into Scotland. It was one of the most beautiful drives I've ever been on up there, and so we'd already recorded the drums by this point and put on a few of the instruments. The fine drummer on those tracks is none other than Jeremy Stacy, who plays with King Crimson. And we're old friends from way back too, from the Jellyfish days. So he was kind enough to come to Los Angeles and do the tracking. But we started just bouncing ideas around in a room before all the shit hit the fan, essentially.
Right.
So we got together over at my at a studio at the time, and we would just sit there for hours and go, "Hey, what do you think about this? Oh, that sucks." Or we would Janine each other. Oh, you're eating too much sugar. But
folks, just so you know, whenever there's a reference to Janine or anything like that, that's a Spinal Tap reference. And if you haven't seen Spinal Tap, that's Rock and Roll 101 that you need to go educate yourself with, because it's not just a movie; it's basically a handbook.
Yeah, it's a way of life. But I digress. I mean, I probably should quote other movies occasionally, but that one seems to resonate the most.
Like Bad News, or that's the only other ones that I quote from. Was it the Bad News, the English version of Spinal Tap?
Yes, it was.
Even though Spinal Tap is based on an English band, they're all American actors. But I don't have to educate you folks that are listening on In the Trenches to Spinal Tap. If you are listening and you haven't seen Spinal Tap, go rent it right now, and then you'll know exactly what we're talking. Because Janine is the sort of Yoko Ono, if you will, of the heavy metal scene.
Oh no! Yes, indeed she is.
So go on and tell how this Lickerish Quartet process is continuing.
Well, I think we took about 2 weeks to kind of get all of the songs together, and that was, 8-10 hour days of just sitting there with the basics, singing to each other, singing melodies, and I was just kind of hanging on by the skin of my teeth, just like trying to figure out what I could contribute. But I mean, I have hours and hours and hours of song ideas. They're just not all developed or, recorded truthfully yet. So I had to run a few of them by those guys before they were kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Right.
But not everything wrote itself immediately either. Too, you'd start and you'd make a good start with a song, but then later you would go, oh, I think it needs a bridge, or bagpipes here, a pan flute, Zamfir.
Is there multiple lead singers in Lickerish Quartet?
Yes, we all sing. We all take turns singing the songs that we brought, which was cool. And we're really for what we do together. We're all really going for this this ensemble sound. We love to sing and harmonize together. That's one of the big challenges of this whole project. If it were just a kind of a standard rock band, you wouldn't. If it was Liam Gallagher, you might have Noel every once in a while going, but these are like, well, I love Oasis, but like
Me too.
These are crazy arrangements as well, thanks to Roger's genius. He's really good at that. So
yeah, I remember back in the day watching Jellyfish shows and just admiring the live. There was never any tapes or anything like that. It was just live harmonization going on. Is that what really got your chops going with harmony? Because you've always been really great at harmonies, but was that your first sort of diving into live harmonies?
That was Jellyfish was the first time, and I grew up too. I mean, I've always loved singers, and my mom was a good singer too. She never pursued it, but doo-wop and Frank Zappa and stuff like that when I was a kid. Also, all those vocal traditions sort of kind of crept along with me along the way. So by the time we got together in Jellyfish, those were grueling vocal rehearsals for hours. But you weren't even with the full production. You were sitting there trying to get your pitch right and sing with the other guys to make that that other entity, as it were. So it was boot camp, pure and simple.
There you go. When I think of the great vocal harmonization bands, I will think of Jellyfish and Motley Crue.
Yes, please. So there was a bit of a kerfluffle with people saying that Corabi was going to go back with him, and he kind of put a stop to that.
He did, but I mean, that did seem like that was just recent news, folks, and we do try to get topical on In the Trenches because John Corabi is another sort of a brother of ours, a rock and roll brother. He's been in the trenches for many years. How did that? You just heard about that, right? He just put a stop to. Who started the actual rumor that he would go back to Motley?
I don't know, but there was a rumor mill for sure, because it was a couple of rumors. Like people were saying that they'd had secret rehearsals and all this, and right. You and I kind of both know that he's successful on his own. He doesn't really need to go back to the past, And he's got some new music out as well. Pretty cool.
Okay. I mean but is that convenient then? All of a sudden it's all over blabbermouth. And by the way, you know what? Let's go full screen for a second, Vic. I just want to make sure, full screen. Come on. There you go. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that Slash from Guns N' Roses has not got in touch with me to reform Snakepit, along with my cohort guest today, JC Jackson. There, Eric Dover. Can you put both of us on, Vic, please? Because this is a very important statement that I'm making right now. I just want to make sure that Slash, yes, from Guns N' Roses, the Slash, has not gotten in touch with us to reform a version of Slash's Snakepit so that Eric Dover and I could play together on stage. But we both have new music coming out. So if you'd like to check out Eric's website or my website, it would be great. So there you go. There's our public service announcement. Let's see if that makes the ticker.
Yeah, if that hits the old metal sludge ticker. But, what is it? It's amazing that we've been involved with that, such a weird story of just the incarnations of Snakepit, and how we've never actually been able to do that together. I mean, and Rod Jackson as well, a great singer.
Yes.
So we should have a big gala night and raise money for charity or something.
Yes, we would love to do a charity gig with Slash from Guns N' Roses if they, but we just want to make sure that that has not happened. We want to clarify that we have not gotten that call. We're squashing it. I love it.
Sell the disease, sell the cure.
Well, that being said, with the new music that you have coming out, I know that Vic put up the title a couple times already, but is this the newest album? Is this the newest video that's out right now? The Dream That Took Me Over?
Yes, it is. And we're in the process of completing the third EP right now. So we'll probably do some kind of video stuff for that.
On each EP, how many songs on each EP so far?
There's 4. We recorded a dozen songs, and we're going to, after this release, and as you know, or may not know, the supply chains for things like vinyl and stuff were really backed up. So
yes, they are.
Everything really got pushed back quite a bit. But we're hard at work on completing this third one, and it's pretty ambitious, actually. We've got some real strings this time, which is cool. I've never been able to be a part of something like that. Roger arranged a beautiful string section for us on a track, and
what I love is that this is so Eric Dover, folks. You're part of a trilogy, aren't you?
We are, Yeah. It really is. And Tim Smith, as always, is writing some amazing music. So we're really excited to get it out. I'm still a mound of work ahead. You know how it is. You dread that part. I mean, it's just because it takes so much focus for me, because I only have like 3 brain cells.
Well, there was actually a comment that came up a little bit earlier that Vic had put up. It was about the studio that you guys were recording and using, and they mentioned Howard Benson's studio. And I'm not sure if there was any truth to that. Where did you guys record that? I know Vic's looking for that comment again as I give that to him, because I feel that, honestly, folks, when you're in the live chat, we all appreciate your comments and everything that comes in. That's why the live chat works. We appreciate you being here early or late, whatever your time zone, or catching the rebroadcast. But Kenneth asked a question: what studio are you guys using? West Valley or Sunset Sound or?
Well, we use Ken Sluter's place to track drums, and then we also use Frankie Sergusa's place in. He's the drummer for the Posies. He has a really nice studio in Highland Park. So we're able to do a majority of the stuff at Frankie's. Frankie's also another, like a fifth Beatle. Really, we love him, and he helps us a great deal. So between those 2 studios, we got the majority of everything done. And then for the second EP and this last one, we're obviously kind of locked in, but we all have home studios. So,
and have you been able to release any sort of lyric videos or proper videos, whatever you want to call it these days, on YouTube that people can check? Not now, folks, but after this podcast is over. Do you have anything that like a YouTube channel where you have these lyric videos for the first 2 EPs of Lickerish Quartet?
Yes, we do. At the Lickerish Quartet channel on YouTube, there's a lyric video for a beautiful song that Tim wrote called There's a Magic Number. And so we have a little kind of a quarantine performance edited together, And
Tim didn't catch any shit from Scholastic Rock for that?
I'm just a bill and only a bill. Yeah.
Scholastic Rock fucking was awesome, though. You have to admit.
So good. I also loved the Sesame Street, the number countdowns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The jazz scat one with the animation with the pinball machine and all that. Do you remember?
No. I'm only thinking Count Dracula. He was the one that he would do. I am the Count. 1,
yes.
2, 3. I know Vic, our producer's trying to get shots of now Sesame Street. You're going to get flagged on the internet if you're just like going to Googling Sesame Street children's numbers and then they see your profile, Vic. So please don't do that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, folks? It is time to let you ask the questions to our guest, Eric Dover, today, because we're going to let you guys know how to get in touch with Eric Dover in just a little bit, but we want you to keep listening, keep hanging in the live chat that we have, because it is time now for letting the people speak. There you go.
A lot of entertainment bang for your buck here, man.
Dude, what do you want for free, man? It's amazing. Let the People Speak is a segment that we have where you have, the listener and the viewer, have checked out, gotten onto our YouTube official channel, gone onto my Instagram at Ryan Roxie Official, or just at Ryan Roxie, and typed in your questions for our guest today, Eric Dover. Our first question that comes up is from our very own at Federica, because we do let people that are close in the circle contribute as well. But then I thought this question was a really great one that said, have lockdowns somehow changed your habits and inspired new songs? What do you think?
Well, not my habits so much. I'm sort of hermetic in a way. I don't. Yeah, I'm usually always working on music anyway at the house.
That is true.
You know, the times have inspired a lot of ideas for me, but you kind of want to keep that. I tend to kind of internalize that for a while until I'm ready to actually just sit down and write it. You know, just to keep it fresh.
Would you say the new songs are more slanted towards hopeful, or is it more dystopian, or does it have anything to do with either?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're. They get dark. There's something. There's a song on the new EP coming out for Lickerish Quartet, and it's a bit dark, and of course, could catch some flack for it, but. You know,
could you give us a title? Could you give us a little bit of or is it secret under wraps still?
No, it's called You All Alone, and so I don't know what the response will be. It's going to be interesting to see. We've kind of run the gamut lyrically, like everything from interpersonal relationships to politics to broken relationships. I think it's real overall. It's not. There's nothing forced in it. There's nothing worse than trying to hear somebody that is trying to force an emotion, and you either kind of buy it or you don't.
Believability. So, it's basically a potpourri of life, is what the Lickerish Quartet is offering with their songs.
Yeah, we're trying to do that in a clean, wholesome, friendly manner. Hey!
That's Federica right there, and that's who asked the question as well. And Federica, big shout out to her because she is our social media coordinator for all things in the trenches. Perfect. Well, let me ask you this. We're going to move on. Not me asking you. It's at I'm_the_beef_48. Wow, because there was 47 I'm the Beef names taken already. It had to be number 48. I'm the Beef asks, what was or is your favorite song to perform live? Do you have one?
Well, not offhand, but I think in the course of like my career, when we've played together, I always enjoyed playing "Long Way to Go" by Alice Cooper. I love that song. I loved playing Joining a Fan Club, Jellyfish, because it was quite challenging and it was kind of like a Queen tune.
Such a great harmonies as well.
Yeah, and Imperial Drag, we had a few numbers. I think Breakfast by Tiger was one that I really loved because it kind of had a Zeppelin-y feel to it. But songs, you play so many of them through the years that I always try to enjoy it every time I play it, even if I've played it a million times, but those were always enjoyable.
Then let me chime in a little bit if I will, because I chime in way too much sometimes, but I love chiming in with our guest Eric Dover. Watching you perform if this was posed to me, what question was, what's my favorite song to see Eric Dover perform? It's not just the song, it's the time. All right. So think of it, and the location. It would be at the Cat Club. It would usually be about 1:50 a.m., so right before closing time. And my favorite song to watch Eric Dover perform would be Sympathy for the Devil, which is a classic Rolling Stones song. It would kind of like be our closer a lot of nights when we would be doing, that was another band that we were in together that I didn't even have in the notes, The Other White Meat.
The Other White Meat, that's right. Man, we've started so many little, hey, I was wondering where my Altoids went.
Oh no, Altoid Bumps. Another name of a band actually could be I Wonder Where My Altoids Went. But to watch you play, because you would front that song, and you all night we'd play, two guitar players, playing off each other. You do, Hot Child in the City, Nick Gilder, for instance. I love playing that song with you. But for me, watching you perform Sympathy for the Devil, that was really special for me every single night, just so you know. And Purple Rain in Kingman. I think it was I
think we even played The Beautiful Ones at one time.
Yes, we did. The Beautiful Ones, a little bit of a support song of that whole Purple Rain soundtrack, but an amazing song nonetheless.
Yeah.
Well, that was always your idea. If you always want the I guess it would be the Asian B-side, you could go for Eric. You can rely on Eric Dover to bring it out. Like, man, that was released in New Zealand in the 70s. So let's do it. Everyone will know that one.
Yeah, I mean, I even with the people, friends I play with today, it's like we all have kind of eclectic tastes and everything, but pulling out Blowing It All Sky High by Jigsaw, or
that might exist, it might not. I don't know, but I'm trusting Eric Dover that it actually is a song, because you could have just said, words together.
That's a real song. Yeah,
of course it is. But
Couldn't Get It Right by Climax Blues Band, like some of the 70s kind of stuff,
In the night, couldn't get it right. Oh, I love that song.
That's a very pimp song, man. It's so low rider.
Truly is. Truly, it's the underground lowrider, which lowrider we've done as well, many, many times. So let's move on to @Jackie.Kawai2. She asks, what is the craziest thing someone has asked you to sign? Ooh. A labia?
Probably. No, I don't think I've ever signed a...
You can't sign labias. It's physically impossible.
Well, it's, if they're functioning correctly, it's the surface is too moist.
Sharpie ink does not penetrate. Oh, did I say penetrate?
Oh.
No, we just jumped the shark.
Hey, man, let us keep doing it. I actually don't have anything that interesting to add to that. I mean, as far as what I've signed, I think I have signed boobs, a few in the time. That's kind of pedestrian, really.
Yeah, it is pedestrian. It's not crazy anymore. Boobs.
No. I mean, if somebody came up and said, "Hey, could you Sharpie my colon?" That would be another story. But
I've even signed man boobs.
Oh yeah, I've signed some man boobs. You got to get by the hair and the nipple hair and all that. But a lot of times too, people would get it. Well, when I was in Slash, they would get tattoos of the signature as well. So you kind of wanted to be careful, because you were like, oh my God, I hope this person isn't going to put my name in ink on them, because they might have buyer's remorse the next day or something.
And you know what? Just not to discount anyone or shame anybody, nipple hair does work both ways, both genders. So it's not just one gender; it's all genders too. Whoever you identify with, nipple hair is a thing, and it's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Like, have you ever seen those chickens with the long feathers that go over there? That's good too. I don't know what those particular chickens are.
You know what?
had on like moon boots or something, you know.
There's going to be a lot of our listeners that are going to Google tonight when they go down that porn rabbit hole, as they do nightly. They're going to go down. They're going to say nipple hair as one of the tags, and that's completely our fault. So there you go.
Oh, it'll be right at home on TikTok.
If you go back to that photo of you and Slash, obviously before you had just signed somebody's tattoo there, that almost looks like a Disney Kid Channel version of like a rock band sitcom that's going to happen right there. Look how young and precious you guys look. Oh. It's like that is teen idol stuff right there.
Pretty amazing, you know, to go back after all these years and go, wow, how young were we all, you know? I mean, but hey, I gotta say, same to you. I mean, I think you know, age is but a number, despite what anybody may tell you. You know.
I wish my skin would stop acting like a teenager. You know, that's the only thing I'm so tired of is like, you know, being in your 50s and dealing with like rosacea and stuff like that. You know, it's like, come on, man, let that stuff go away when you're a teenager, man. But it is what it is, folks, and I accept it. I embrace it. I embrace my rosacea, and I embrace your nipple hair. That's the way I have it.
Yeah, yes. I think it's about embracing and acceptance. And yes, Bonnie, I remember that vaguely. Toledo, Ohio.
Is that BH Bonnie?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's move on to Anna at Kana KK Divi. We love at Kanak. What is the one reason that gives you the strength and motivation to keep on going? Wow.
Well, I would say, yeah, that is a heavy question, but there's just something inside, like for me, to keep going with music. It's kind of honoring a promise that I made to myself when I was maybe 11, when I first started picking up the instrument, and I just felt it so strongly that I wanted to be in music and do something with music. And so whenever I get discouraged, which, you know, happens because we're only human, you got to remember that you can be unsuccessful doing something you absolutely hate. So you might as well try to do something that you love. And so I just keep it there. And then that kind of tends to help me at least, you know, deal with waking up in the morning and continuing. Sometimes it's hard, though.
I'm going to circle back at the very end of the show to say that's probably one of the most inspirational things that you said. You can be unsuccessful doing something you hate, so you might as well do something you love. In fact, that is your sort of parting words to everyone. I feel that everyone should take away. And the other thing that you said earlier, that there is no expiration on dreams and following your dreams. So those two things, Eric, are really, really, really heartfelt and good. That's great. That's perfect. So if I did have, like, I have a great producer, we have a great producer with Vic, but if I was to edit this, I would edit that to the end because that's where we end things. But hopefully we're a little ways. Do you have some time, a little bit more time to hang with us?
Yeah, I do.
I love it because that's a great question.
It's a strange thing where, like, you go through stages in your life, I think, or where you're like, you feel jaded and you're like, I don't believe in anything, you know, beautiful or magical. I don't believe in magic. And then one day you kind of wake up and like, hey, I kind of believe in magic again, and it feels good. You know what I mean? Like, just having a magical state of mind to be creative. Yeah. And
dude, I believe you just quoted Olivia Newton-John. You got to believe in magic, right?
One of my favorite pop songs of all time. So much, in fact, I have held the 24-track masters.
What?
Yes, years ago, a session I did for David Holloman. He did all the '90s bands. He goes, "Here, I have something I want to show you." 24-track reel master of magic, Olivia Newton-John. I was like,
yeah, what a great. Now that when I think of that, what a verse. what an amazing amazing song. But honestly, that verse to me is one of my, you know, or is it with a little more love? Is it one of those verses I'm talking about? Olivia Newton-John. Olivia Newton-John, just an amazing artist that I don't think gets enough credit in as far as historically of the influence that she had on all of our rock and rollers sort of upbringing. Because were you just not completely in love with Olivia Newton-John back in the day?
Oh, hell yeah. And, like, well, I mean, I could even say the same thing about John Denver. I mean, we grew up with John Denver, Olivia Newton-John. There was a lot of soft rock. There was a...
Dude, I would go so far as to say Christopher Cross had an influence on me in a rock and roll way.
Oh, way, man. Like, sailing was the biggest. All the older girls in your class, in school were like, Christopher Cross. And then you had your other people that were like, oh, Pac-Man Fever. And you're trying to reconcile the two,
And a couple years later, it was crisscross, and they just wore your pants backwards.
And then you got Michael Cimbello came along, and he kind of jacked Christopher Cross's look, but he had the hammer-ons. He had the rad guitar solo.
I believe that Ed Sheeran is today's Christopher Cross.
You think so?
Well, perhaps in a way. I'm trying to equate because I just saw Ed Sheeran play opening night at NFL football. Again, completely. One thing is not like the other. It's like, but at the same time, Ed Sheeran writes great songs, so I can understand, for that's the way they want to promote the show, get as many eyeballs on the artist as possible, and obviously the label is promoting his new record and stuff. But like, what artist would you equate what Ed Sheeran is? Because he's kind of. I was telling Paul Blazek, who has, again, not made an appearance here in his own crypt the whole time. Hey, Paul, you're supposed to be up going to a gig. He told me to wake him up at the beginning of this podcast. But the thing is, with Ed Sheeran, like, how do you equate him? Who can you equate him with? Because I was telling Paul, like, if he was better looking, I don't know if he would be as successful. How about that? Like, if he was like a boy band teen idol guy, would he be as successful? Or do people sort of say like him because he is a little quirky looking? He is a little bit, sort of like, I can relate to him. He's got that everyday guy sort of vibe to him. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he's relatable in that sense. I mean, didn't he went out with Taylor Swift at one time, right?
Yeah.
So
he's funny as fuck.
Oh yeah, did you guys get to hang out a bit or?
Never hung out with him, but you just listen to interviews and stuff like that. And he's just funny as hell, and just just kind of like the way that you're not expecting him to be as hilarious as he is. The lead singer of Coldplay, for instance, super intelligent, funny guy, Chris. And so you just watch these interviews from people, and I love the way you're like that. You have a very quirky, intelligent sense of humor. That's why I always enjoy talking with you.
Well, same to you. And I feel like, man, like if you do this too, like you can be a serious artist, but having a sense of humor is it's saved me more than once. I'm sure it's, saved you as well. I mean, sometimes you just have to laugh.
Well, it's in the sense that I think when you start having a sense of humor about it, and even Alice Cooper, to a sense, has taken his persona, and of course he's Alice Cooper, the shock rock king of the world, but he can be a funny, quirky, intelligent, quick-witted guy as well, and he shows that all the time.
Yeah, and I learned a lot from him because of that, like how to roll with it. I think he told me once you get on the carousel, just, hang on, don't get off, that's the trick.
Yeah. I mean, Alice is such a huge fan of Eric Dover, and never goes a tour by that your name doesn't come back in a very nice, positive, loving fashion. So,
well, much love to everyone. And, all of you. And speaking of which, I needed to say this really quick before I forget. I saw a new card dispenser. It's so cool, man. You put it in the middle of the table, and it revolves, right? And it spits the cards out for ever how many, people playing. So you got to get one of those for the bus.
Send me the link for it, because Alice loves to buy things that will eventually become obsolete in 2 or 3 months, because we won't be on that same tour bus, and he'll buy it like right out of the gate. Send me the link to this. And we are talking about, of course, the infamous late night poker games that we have on the Alice Cooper tour bus on a nightly basis. And just so you know, Eric Dover is not just singer-songwriter, producer, vocalist, guitarist, great friend, great band member to have, but he also is the inventor of Drunk Ass Dealer.
That's true. These moments of inspiration that we would have during those games, those are some of the funnest times of my life. Literally, just hilarity.
Drunk Ass Dealer. Remember, though, Drunk Ass Dealer starts because you're supposed to deal the cards clockwise, I believe. But what's Drunk Ass Dealer, Eric? Being that you invented it.
Oh, Jesus. It's been so... I'd get my ass kicked if I played anything now.
But it's just dealing the cards randomly. That was it.
We were dealing it randomly, but wasn't there something where you slapped the card on your head and that was the Mariah or whatever it was going to be? I mean, there was a lot of vodka cranberry involved in those games as well.
No doubt. That dovetails into our last Let the People Speak question, which is from Chris Windry. I always mess these names up. I'm sorry, Chris Windry. He asks, do you have a favorite memory of your time? Because you do say they're great times, and they were great times with us playing together in the Alice Cooper Band. Do you have a favorite memory of your time with Alice Cooper?
Yeah, probably a few. But I would say that the first time that we ever played Wembley, and Brian May came and joined us for a few songs.
That. Yeah, I talk about that all the time, man.
Oh, what a wonderful memory. And it was the Hammersmith Odeon, which has an amazing history all its own. Mm-hmm. And so I remember that being a big highlight. And I don't remember if it was the first time I played there, we played Wembley, or the second time, because I know there was a couple of times. Once I wore a flight pressure suit from like a MiG. I bought it in Russia at a market bazaar somewhere, right? God, that thing was so hot. It looked cool, though. I looked like I played in Rammstein or something,
Oh, Rammstein. Oh, you're so good, Eric. There it is. Wow.
Rammstein.
There's another promo shot of the Eyes of Alice Cooper era days and stuff. So, yeah, I do remember that Brian May moment that you're talking about so much, because I do tell people, that was the eye patch era. I tell people about the eye patch era of Eric Dover. I mean, that is, by no fault of your own, that's one of the coolest looks you ever were able to pull off. Thank God for your eye conjunctivitis, right? It created it.
Yeah, well, that's what happens in touring. I think we went to Greece and went to Germany or whatever, but what is it? The diseases of the band. It's that's a Frank Zappa song. So
it was one of those sort of things that did pass on to a few other members of the band. So for a couple weeks there was sort of an eye patch vibe going on as well.
Well, there's nothing wrong with playing dress up as pirates. I mean, you guys have been working with Johnny Depp, so you understand.
Yeah, we've been doing that and Space Cops with the Brutal Planet, and then there was it had an Asian twist, Space Cops with Asian twist during the Dragontown era that you were playing with. Remember how we just put on those suits and we become these sort of characters.
Oh, yes. We were characters off stage, too, but yeah.
But that Brian May gig, though, do you remember how loud his one AC30 amp was compared to both our stacks that were rigged up?
Oh, yeah. I do so much, in fact, that I went and looked on YouTube again after all these years just to see his setup. He brought one AC30. He usually plays more than one, but yeah, that's just not, I don't think it's your normal AC30 either.
Oh, it's probably it's probably hijacked or rotted out, modified, and beefed up to the most you can. And he probably brings more than one because he knows that one's going to blow up, especially if Ace Frehley shows up.
Yeah, if Ace Frehley shows up, or if it's an AC-30 in general, I think Gilby used to take 6 of them out with Guns N' Roses just to get 2 of them to work. And I love them, but I'm still kind of a Marshall guy to this day. So,
well, I'm very excited that I'm using Hughes and Kettner this next tour, and been working with them. We like to say that we are the German Marshall amp company. No, but Hughes and Kettner's got a great history, and I'm excited to take them out on the road on this next tour as well. So getting to equipment, this is perfect, man. You know what? I'm not going to have a script from now on, folks, because all these things sort of just, they intertwine with each other, because now we have a section called The One That Got Away, and we'd like to thank the bassist for Fall Out Boy to be part of this next animation. There's the one that got it. Yes, exactly. What is the one that got away, you ask? Well, thanks to Stanley Gable, who's inspired this idea. We are asking our guest about a piece of gear that you wish you still had, whether you had to sell it, it was stolen, or you just did, some sort of stupid thing and you lost it. But would you have one piece of gear that you wish you had still to this day? And honestly, it doesn't have to be a guitar, it doesn't have to be an amp, it could be something, one weird little effect. What is the one that got away for you, Eric Dover?
That's an easy to answer question. It's my 85 bronze burst Les Paul Custom that was stolen off of the Strand in Hermosa Beach at a billionaire's house, that's never been recovered, and I don't think I'll ever see it. But yeah, I had a nervous breakdown. Once my midlife crisis kicked in and I started sleeping on couches again, I wound up selling shit like, stuff that I really wish I'd never gotten rid of. But I loved it. Like, I had a beautiful Pete Townsend 68 SG with a tremolo. I had all these wonderful sounding guitars, but that 85 is the one that it's broken my heart. It broke my heart completely.
If you're listening out there and somebody has that, because that guitar just doesn't go away. It just doesn't. It doesn't get. It's sitting somewhere in someone's house, and they don't realize it because they don't realize they bought fence goods, or it's sitting in someone's house and they know completely well that they stole it and they have had to sleep, and they may not know the severity of it, and is sort of what you've been telling us with this story, or it's hanging in some sort of music shop and in somewhere. So it's, again, an 85 tobacco burst, did you say?
No, it was a bronze burst, so it looks gold. Looks almost like a gold top. But that guitar was absolutely very special. I think there's a picture of it on my Twitter, which I never use Twitter, but it has the serial number listed. I've had friends looking for it for years. I'm not sure. It was Hermosa Beach, so wherever it is, somebody's probably playing shitty reggae on it or Sublime covers or something. And that's what kind of breaks my heart the worst. That guitar too was stolen. That was that was a Tom Shepard kit guitar that I took out a loan to have built, and this guy stole it that I know from back home. I won't go into that. I don't miss that guitar though, like I do the Gibson.
Okay, well, you know what, Vic, I guess Vic keeps on putting out pictures of you with guitars. There's going to be some tragic story behind that one. So, Vic, please stop putting up pictures of guitars, or Eric's going to have another breakdown. We don't want that right now. We can talk about my breakdown with my stolen Flying V, my GMP Flying V, that actually was found, but they wanted me to buy it back. And I was like, because it was at a music store. And then I just finally said, you know what, because of an Alice Cooper fan had eventually bought this GMP Carina V sort of replica. He bought it, and then I kind of said, you know what, it was stolen for a reason. You bought it. I don't want to have to buy it back, for one. Hold on to it. If I need it, I'll really ask for it. And then years later, I'm playing a Karina V anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's just nice to hear that there's some sort of resolution. This is kind of like, a missing person. You just want that some sort of, I guess, how do you say, resolve? You want some sort of closure. So folks, if you know anything about Eric's missing 85 bronze burst, please come forward. There's an anonymous tip line that we will set up and put together in the links below. I think Federica can set that up. Maybe we'll find it, Eric. Maybe we'll find that bronze burst someday. It's around.
Yeah. Well, I would hope so. I still have my 78, the red one that I used to play. That's in a lot of those. But it's retired. I don't take it out for live gigs anymore. I have about a 2019 Gibson Classic. So I've been, breaking that in and, playing that for most of my live stuff. So,
well, as Dave Duchovny from the X-Files would say, it's out there.
I hope so. I always think of Dave and his white socks sitting in first class, us drinking champagne.
Please tell that story. Please tell the story of how we were best friends with Dave Duchovny for like 8 hours and then never saw or heard from him again.
No, he was the greatest guy, and we just hung out in the airport lounge and chatted and drank all the free wine. And I just remember sitting, the first class has those great, cabin bed things or whatever, and like he's got his.
They were capsules. They were capsules.
Yeah, they were capsules. They were so cool, and I just remember him like kicked back, and I was like, dude's wearing white athletic socks. He's like a bro, like he really is, and he certainly was.
Do you remember when he spilled a little bit of Bloody Mary on his sock, or maybe it was his sleep suit that they gave us? And he said, he was on his sweats, those sweats that they gave us. He spilled a little bit right around his groin area, and he go, "My penis is bleeding." It's my favorite quote from David Duchovny.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe there'll be a reunion one day.
I love it. Well, you know what? There has to be a reunion between me and you at some point, because every time we get on stage, it's always major fun, and just always something that I really do heartfelt. I really do appreciate, and I know that I'm in a special place when I'm on stage with you, Eric. It's true.
Well, I feel the same way about you, and I hope that we can, down the road, maybe pick up some Lost Angels thing. I know that at one time before everything happened, we were kind of writing some songs and thinking about recording them. I'm still very open for that. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Well, there you go. In the meantime, though, folks, you're going to hopefully catch us with the Alice Cooper Band. We go out in a few weeks with Alice Cooper and Ace Frehley, and there's the tour dates right there. And in fact, so much that next week on our show, we will have our tour kickoff special, the tour kickoff special episode of In the Trenches. So definitely start planning that, following that, promoting it. And again, no fan of the week this week, because we're going to prep up for this tour special. So another week, another fan of the week will run. Our reigning champion will be Amanda Brown. You are our fan of the week for 2 weeks in a row. Enjoy your title again. We've been hanging out with Mr. Eric Dover. Enough about me and my yak, and how to get in touch with you, Eric, for those that are listening on the audio broadcast. And if anybody just wants to sort of chat, find out more about Eric, and fall into the Eric Dover rabbit hole, how would they get in touch?
Oh, well, as you can see, wait, this way, that way?
Yeah, it takes a little bit getting used to. Yep.
Drop me a line. I'm open to hearing from any fan or anyone that wants to talk about music. We're also at the Lickerish Quartet. You can we do offer certain experiences for session work, vocals. So feel free to reach out. I love hearing from other musicians and just people that love talking about music.
There you go. That's Eric Dover and all his social media. Fuck, man. Like I said, usually I end it with parting words, but you've already said such amazing parting words. There is no expiration on your dreams. There's no age limit, was it? No age limit, expiration.
No,
your dreams happen.
No, you just got to keep going, man, and you'll get there, you know?
And you can be, what was the other thing you said? You can be unsuccessful at something you hate. So you might as well find something you love, right?
Yeah, you can be miserable, you know. So just do what you love. I mean, sometimes life hands you some shit sandwich, but you can, you know, when somebody's not looking, just feed it to the dog or something. You know?
Again, another Spinal Tap. You can't print that.
Right. Most of everything I say you can't print these days.
It's literally Shark Sandwich was the name of the album, which goes this full circle to Jumping the Shark. Oh my God, this has been the most incredible episode of just things tying in for a reason. For some reason, we had some crazy feedback. Better left unsolved.
I would say this is very serendipitous.
It's very serendipitous. It's always serendipitous. In fact, that might be the name of Eric Dover and myself's new project, Serendipity. There's a nice picture of Three's Company family. Consider your. Go ahead.
Serendipity do. Yeah, that's going back.
Serendipity do.
We could wear hair products. We could get endorsements. You know, I'm thinking ahead.
No, okay, I've got it. This is synergy at its best. Serendipity duo.
Oh, wow. That's what you did there.
It's our new duo. So you can't. It's our new duo project because you can't say solo project.
You can't, and you know.
It's our new. We actually might have just come up with a new genre of like types of bands. It's a duo project.
Yeah, Mr. Furley inspired rock songs. You know,
I will gladly be your Andrew Ridgely. I would happily be your John Oates, if you will.
Hey, listen, I'll be your Sleestack to your Shaka. You know.
Dude, we're gonna go off for hours, but we have to actually shut down right now. So hang on for just one more second. We've been hanging with just an amazing guy, Eric Dover, part of the In the Trenches family now and forever. Of course, our paths are going to cross. Eric, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, brother. And listen, best of luck with the tour, and you know, have a great time.
Thanks as always to everybody that's been supporting the podcast. Tell a friend. Thanks to our producer, Vic Chalfant. You've done a great job again. And everybody, we'll see you on the tour special next Friday. But until that time, enjoy the ride. See ya.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.